Welcome, I'm the DeadwoodJedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. We are on the test server. We are testing Razzleberg again. Razzleberg, I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. Razzie? We're gonna test Razzie again. Donnie Darko out here in Clan Boss. We're gonna be using that same speed tune I came up with, right? Putting Raz in a 3-1 ratio and the rest of the team in a 2-1 ratio. Try to beat the Clan Boss. Now, I was thinking about how to do this, right? This is gonna be a traditional team, a killable team. A non-unkillable, not the non-unkillable team. Yeah. This is the one that can die, basically, before 50 turns. And I was trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to do this. How do I do this best? Should I bring out all the big legendary guns and see what I can do? Or should I do something a little bit more tame and attainable for you guys so you can see how this is going to work for your teams and such like that? Well, I did a bit of both is what I ended up doing. I have great gear on these champions. Most of them are going to be in stalwart. It's not like the craziest build I could do, but it's not far off. But I did use all epics, so that's something. And rosin, but rosin's, fusible for everybody, so that's not like it's insurmountable odds. So this is about as free to play as I'm going to try and do this team with Raz. Obviously, you can do this with whatever champions you want to do it with, right? He's going to be good. Going at the crazy speeds that we're going at, even if you don't build super survive, you're going to get a lot of damage in a short amount of time just by taking so many attacks. So he's going to be good regardless. But obviously I want to see, what can we do? What do you guys have to look forward to? And maybe if you guys want, let me know in the comments. If you guys want, I will build a full out blowout traditional team as high damage as I possibly can. I'll bring in, Michinaki. I'll bring in Mithrala. I'll do crazy stuff here and see what could we do with this squad? I think that could be actually pretty fun. I have to say, this is about the fusion. It's one of the most fun fusion champions. It's one of the most fun champions in this game. And I think we got to remember that part of this. It's a game. Fun champions are fun. I honestly, I can't wait to actually bring them into Hydra. I think it's going to be a blast. I'm actually really excited for that on my main account to have him for my Hydra team because I think he's going to be actually really useful there. And I'm stoked about him. I don't know what else to say, guys. I'm stoked about him. I think he's going to be a really good champion for people out there. And I think there's a bunch of different ways you can build him, right? You can use stun sets. You can use provoke sets because he has 2 AoEs and he's cycling his skills so quickly. I think he could be extremely good in a lot of areas of this game. The one area I don't think he's going to be good in, arena. I don't think you're going to get enough turns to really build up his speed to make him as valuable as you might think. But here's some thinking. Dark Fae, right? Let's take out the Dark Fae because the speed of your copy is not going to be the same as the speed of your champion, right? He's going to be 100 speed faster. That actually makes that a lot easier content to take on. There's a lot of little things like that where I feel like we're going to be able to use Razzleberg in a really good way here. And so that's a big part of like what I'm thinking as far as like why this champion's going to be such a good one and somebody that I do recommend you go ahead and fuse. It's going to be worth it, I think, in the long run. Even, and I wasn't sure about endgame players. I think endgame players can get away without it, obviously. But I think he's going to be a champion you're still going to want to fuse, right? There's very few champions like him, and he just opens up possibilities, which is fun. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's talk about the Clan Boss team, right? Let's do that. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one that comes out. And of course, if you enjoyed today's music, we have that link down below in the pinned comment and description of this video, and you can use code DeadwoodJedi, save yourself 15%. And of course, if you want some account work, you don't like doing the work yourself, I'm more than happy to do it for you. My team is at the beck and call. Just visit my website, DeadwoodJedi.com. All right, so this is the team that I'm going to be bringing in. We've got Raz. Man, it's going to get me every time. Anyway, we got Razzie here going that same 240 speed. We've got Sepulchre Sentinel here to help block some debuffs, make sure we have increased defense on. Rosin for our damage. Steel Skull's going to add some poisons, also going to help us with increased defense, also going to help cleanse the stun. And then we've got Tarag here for the ally protection. Now, I do have full speed ranges for this build, and I'm going to share those right at the end of the video. So if you're wondering, how do I, what are the ranges of the speeds I need, the true speeds, I will share those at the end of this build so you have an understanding of where you want to get your champions to speed-wise, right? But yeah, this team I think should work really nice. We're going to be able to have ally protection for most of the champions on both AoEs. Razzleberg is going to be the exception. There's just no way around that. We do have increased defense for everybody though, which is great. We're going to be able to block the stun or cleanse it. It's not affinity friendly, but if I wanted to bring somebody like Grizzled Jarl and use them like I did in the clan boss draft, I could make Grizzled Jarl go last in the turn order, right? Basically fill in, I think, the Sepulcher slot or the Taragi slot and put him on and prioritize his A4 ability or his A2 ability, the decreased attack one. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, whichever one that is, A3, I think. In that way, he would have that increased defense and block debuff for 1 turn, go last on a turn, and alternate him and Sepulcher. Then this actually would be completely affinity friendly, but I didn't do that because I didn't build him up and didn't want to rebuild things. So sue me. Anyway, this is going to work for what we're doing here. Now, it's going to be limited. Razzie should be the one that dies first, is my imagining. Probably on the first AoE because he won't have ally protection, unlike the rest of his teammates. So it's not like the perfect build here. But there are, I think there are some ways to get it a little bit better survivability wise. If I could bring in some legendaries, that would definitely change the whole equation here. But I opted not to do that. And that's maybe on me, maybe not, I don't know. But by opting not to do that, obviously we're going to have a little bit of a ceiling on this squad. But let's jump in and we'll see how we do here. Okay, let's jump into this clan boss team here. I've set it up to actually run, I think, on full auto. Part of the key is we want Sepulcher Sentinel to take this first stun to help put us all in sync, but you'll see we get that increased defense buff out there. We have a 1-turn delay on Taragi for the ally protection, 1-turn delay for Steel Skull with her increased defense. And after that, it should work just fine, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how this is going to work. There we go. But this first stun is going to go to Sepulcher Sentinel, and that should actually put us in the sync as far as timing of the skills. And the idea here is we'll have ally protection on everybody except Razzie. Razzie's going to burn through those buffs. And then we're going to be able to have increased defense on everybody for both actually for the entire fight, which is a deal for us. It is pretty hard to time this because the trick is Raz is taking 3 turns, right? And it's very difficult to time all the skills because it means we can't carry any skills over to the next turn, right? Oftentimes with a team like this, I could have a champion like a Sepulcher Sentinel place a skill right at the very end, or a Taragi, right? Place that ally protection right at the end of their turn, and then it's going to carry over into the next turn. But because Raz takes 3 turns, he's going to burn through any buff we decide to put out there. The other tricky part is Raz takes 2 turns basically in between everybody else. So, obviously, in the first cycle through, right, everybody's taking 2 attacks. So everybody takes their first attack, including Raz, and then Raz immediately takes a second attack. Then we have Steel Skull and Rosin go, and then Raz takes the 3rd attack, and then Taragi and Sepulcher go. So if I have, say, Taragi places that ally protection buff on his first attack, Raz takes 2 turns before Taragi goes again, which means he burns through that buff. And so he's not able to keep all the buffs on him for the full fight. It becomes a little bit trickier, right? And so that's really one of the hardest things, is making sure that he can stay protected. That's why this is going to definitely be better for an unkillable team, right? If we can use an unkillable team with this, it should work just fine. I'm sure actually I can do this with 2 man-eaters and a Painkeeper. Probably could do it with just 2 man-eaters as well, but the speeds will be a lot faster. But that's probably a very doable thing. Just like long-term thinking about, how would you build this? You can do this unkillable. The unkillable team I did the other day, you can check out the video. I'll probably have it linked at the end of this one, but that team, you can run it. I ran it with 2 Sir Nicks. You can definitely run it with 2 Helicaths, or 2 Roshkard the Towers, or even 1 Warcaster going in the last slot and 1 Roshkard or Helicath in the other slot. Definitely doable, right? In fact, probably works better that way. The hard part is obviously you want to make sure that with Sir Nick, and this is always a trick, is that you heal up full so that the stun doesn't go to the wrong champion, right? Or you have a Doom Priest, so it doesn't matter where the stun goes, and it's going to be cleansed every time, right? So you need to make sure you have something along those lines working for you. Obviously, I'm using Razzleberg's aura, speed aura, but you don't have to. You could definitely do it without that. And like I said, at the end of this video, I'll have the true speeds of this team. So you can see, you know, you can build it with or without that ore, or bringing in a different ore. You just have to factor that in when you're trying to figure out the true speeds of these champions, right? So you can always use a calculator for that, even if Raz isn't in the calculator yet. I know we're working on putting them in, but that passive ability is really tricky to try to activate and figure out, especially when you consider he only gets the buff when he only gets the speed boost, the speed bump, when he's actually landing that buff on his ally. So if I have another speed champion in there, that could actually cause some issues, right? As he's trying to apply something on somebody else's buff that's already there, and that doesn't always work. So these are the considerations that we're having to do as far as like putting them into the calculator and making it more automatic. And I imagine once we do that, there's going to be a ton of teams that use Razzleberg, because he's a single champion speed booster. And making with an unkillable team is actually pretty simple to do. The fact that he hits hard is a really big advantage, and you can get some pretty good damage without having to build a super crazy team, right? The cleanse ability or blocking debuffs, whichever one you try to opt for, is definitely, you know, something that's going to be a little bit trickier as far as trying to optimize within your squad, but it's still something that's, you know, viable and doable. So these are all things kind of to consider along the way here as we go through this. But yeah, as you can see, doing pretty decent numbers here, right? Definitely a 2-key team if we can survive long enough, which is really the question. But doing well over 1 million damage a turn is a pretty good job, I would say, for a mostly epic squad. They have them built well. Let's not get too into the weeds on it. Definitely they're built to do some damage, right? But still, I'd say this is a pretty good result here. And like I said, I don't think you need to build it this well. You don't have to use these champions to necessarily get these kinds of results. Because as you can see, nobody's really taking any damage right now, and we're already at a 3-key number, which means that I can build it a lot less tanky and we'll still get a 3-key number, right? And you know, so that just shows like there is a lot of potential as far as building this out. Now, one thing you have to be careful of, this speed tune particularly, it's not to say this is all speed tunes, but this speed tune particularly, you cannot use a counterattack buff on Razzleberg. On anybody else, sure, but not on Razzleberg. And so that can be a little bit tricky. That means you cannot take the defensive masteries that grant you counterattack either. That's a really important thing to remember here. I definitely was thinking, oh man, I can bring in Valkyrie, it'll be awesome. And then I was like, oh, I can't bring in Valkyrie. The 15% turn meter boost on Raz's A1 is definitely something that will throw things off. And so you need to make sure that you don't do that. And the same idea, ally attack, I think won't work. If he gets sucked into an ally attack at the wrong time, that could definitely have some negative consequences. There is a potential for it. If you can time that ally attack to happen right before Raz would take a turn, then I think there's a good argument to be said that yes, you can do that. Yes, you can use him, but it would literally have to be right before he takes a turn, because he would be going next anyway. So the turn meter boost doesn't hurt him, but there is that possibility, right? So that's certainly something that you could do, I think, in theory. You just have to really time out when that happens. But look, we're almost at a 2-key damage here, and you can starting to see Raz on that first A1 really starting to take some damage now that he doesn't have ally protection on him. That's definitely where it comes in. I do want to build I think I'm going to build an OP team with this, just go crazy with some legendaries, just because, I don't know, I think it'd be fun. I kind of want to see that. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of you were asking to bring in like Michinaki or Rhonda. So I'll do that. I'll see what I can't do with something like that. Maybe I won't bring in both, but I'll bring in one for sure. I'll definitely do it with Michinaki. I don't know about Rhonda per se, but I'll definitely bring in Michinaki and just see how many crazy attacks we can get in. It'll be pretty fun. So yeah, some good potential here though with this team, I think. Look at this is a very solid 2-key in about 25-27 turns. That's not bad at all. Real good result. All right, let's see how long this lasts. We'll play some music and I'll come back. 62 million damage is not a bad result. That is way more than I was expecting it to be. Honestly, that's like double what I was hoping for. That's a pretty good result. And you can see Razzleberg, the Raz, Donnie Dark over here did more damage than everybody else on this team, which is kind of insane. More damage than Rosin? Actually, I'll be honest, that's wild to me. That's absolutely insane that he did more damage than Rosin on the squad. You know, I built him for damage for sure, but I also built him, he has to survive. So it's not all just attack stats like you'd see in an unkillable team. Raz is he's pretty legit, guys. This dude's pretty legit. If you can get him, I can't recommend it enough, honestly. You should be getting this champion. I cannot believe he did more damage than anybody else on this team. That's actually pretty insane. There's no increased attack buff out there. Rosin had increased defense for most of the fight, for the entirety of the fight. Now that I think about it, that's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. Man, I mean, if nothing else, this definitely shows the power of more attacks, right? 3 attacks versus 2. That's the difference right here, right? Obviously, on an individual turn-by-turn basis, Rosin was doing more damage. There's no doubt about that. The thing is, Razzleberg was taking 3 attacks where Rosin was taking 2. And that's a huge, huge difference there. This is kind of insane, actually. Wow, I'm shocked. Okay, let's look at the champions, how I built them, to get an idea of what I put on them. Obviously, these numbers might be a little bit hard for you to attain, but if I can get these numbers, clearly there's going to be room for you to improve it on your own as well. So, wow, I'm honestly a bit shocked. So, yeah, let's look at the champions, see how I geared them, and I'll also give you the speed ranges for all these champs here. Okay, so I've got Razzlevarg here in a stalwart set. As I said, he doesn't have ally protection for the full fight, and he was the first to die. So it's important that we protect him as best as we can, and 1 speed set as well. He's built pretty darn good, and you can see with the masteries, I went the support tree and I went the offensive tree. I was avoiding Lore Steal only because I'd already built him without it, so that's why Lore Steal's totally fine. But there are a couple things you want to avoid. I don't want lasting gifts. I need that speed buff to fall off when it does and stay on when it does. So I don't want to add that to it. I don't want Cycle of Magic to screw up the timing of his skills. No Arcane Celerity. No whatever the other one is. I can't even remember the other name of the other mastery that we don't want here. What's it called? Rapid Response. Right? We don't want that. We obviously don't want Cycle of Revenge in the defensive tree. You never do. And we don't want Retribution or Deterrence, the 2 masteries that can give free counterattacks. That's going to be really important. So I can definitely take him down the defensive tree, and that would help him survive a little bit longer. I opted to go down the support tree. I think that's totally fine. Now, one thing you'll notice, he's only got 144 accuracy. We're adding another 72 or so because of that increased accuracy buff that he puts out there. So we can build him with a lot lower accuracy. This is still on the lower side than I would like. We did drop Leech a couple times, so I would like to bump that up another 10 or 15 points. But that's about it, really. That's all we need. So we don't have to build him with a ton of accuracy to be used in Clan Boss either. Another reason why he's very, very good. As far as the stats go, right, we're talking 240 speed, I put him at 3,400 defense, 4,800 attack, so nothing crazy. 225 crit damage. Again, nothing crazy here. I can definitely build those damage numbers higher. I can build the survivability numbers higher. And as you can see, with so many attacks, you definitely get a lot of benefit out of it. I could put him in a toxic set, definitely, and fill up that debuff bar with poisons. I also, if I didn't have some poisoners on this team, that's always an option for me to be able to do. Now, as far as the true speeds for this champion go, it's a pretty decent range. You can be anywhere between 260.72 speed to 270.49. Now, again, this is just off my Excel sheet at home. It's not in the calculator yet. That's going to be a more precise look at everything. And so I would definitely try to stay away from the higher end of things. But basically, you want his true speed to be 261 or higher, right? That's generally what you want, 261 to 270. That's really the range we're looking for there, 261 to 270 speed. If you do that, you should be fine with Raz. And then we have Sepulchre Sentinel. Sepulchre Sentinel is in 2 speed and a perception set because Sepulchre has so much defense. I didn't need to put Stalwart on her at all. 5k defense, pretty good. 244 crit damage, obviously built to hit hard. And she does a decent job of it, but she's not like a damage dealer, right? 250 accuracy, way over what I need considering we had that increased accuracy buff. But I had already built her and I wasn't really, eager to change everything here. But you really don't have to build these champions with much more than, I would say I would aim for 160 to 170 accuracy, right? In that range. You can always go higher, but you're not going to need more than 160 or 170 accuracy with that increased accuracy buff on this team. That can be a huge boon for a lot of people in the earlier stages of this game trying to build teams with this champion. And that's always definitely something I recommend. Now, defensive tree, totally fine for Sepulchre, just not on Raz. Also, I should point out, when it comes to these speeds, there's everybody's speed can affect everybody else. So at the extremes of the speed ranges, you might run into some issues. This is why generally when I toss out these ranges, you want to try and stay somewhere in the middle of them, but not get too close to the edges. Anyway, with Sepulchre Sentinel, the speed range is going to be 250.55 to 252. Now, that's a very small range for your last 2 champions, right? But it's 250.55 to 250 to 252. That's a true speed that they'll fit in. And this is going to be both for Sepulchre and for that Taragi slot. Whoever's the faster of the two, this is the weird thing about it. Whoever's the faster of the two is actually going to be going first, not last. So what happens is that these champions are going to be the last 2 to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But the faster one is going to go before the slower one of those 2 champions, right? So 250.55 to 252. Same speed ranges for these last 2 champions, with the faster one going first in the turn order. Speaking of these last 2 champions, we have Taragi the Frog, right? I have him built, I think, extremely well, actually, in Stalwart set, which is just extra. I just have really good Stalwart gear. And an Immortal set. But we're going 232 speed. Obviously, he's fitting that same speed range, 250.55 to 252. And he's got almost 100,000 HP, 3,000 defense, plenty of accuracy. This is kind of stuff that we're looking for here. And obviously, there's things I don't need. I don't need the accuracy, like we said. I don't need crit rate. I don't need crit damage. But that's going to be how I have them. And obviously, support set to help land more poisons. And also, obviously, offensive set for War Master. Now, with Steel Skull, I have a perception set in the Stalwart set. Again, I just have lots of Stalwart gear, and it's good. It's one of the reasons why I use it so often. But, 3,000 defense, 34,000 HP. I actually built Steel Skull to deal damage. I don't think he did. Not a very good damage dealer, but I had the gear. Why not build it that way? And then obviously, I went, as far as the masteries, I went support tree to help land more poisons and try to keep that debuff bar as full as possible. Now, this Steel Skull spot, this is the slow spot, right? This is like the cleanser spot, and that's really important. If you watch the run, he places the increased defense at the end on his second attack, and then the next turn, because he doesn't block debuffs, he will cleanse whoever got stunned. That's why it works on Void Affinity. It doesn't work on, Spirit, obviously. It's not an AoE cleanse. But you can put an AoE cleanser in the spot. A Battle Khazar would be really good, and he'll be able to cleanse whatever debuffs at the start of the turn, no matter who gets a stun, including Razzleberg. So that's always, something to keep in mind. As far as speed ranges, though, 187 true speeds now, 187 to 190. Those are the speed ranges you're going to want. True speed, 187 to 190. It's a pretty small range, not really wide, but it works extremely well. And so that's what you need for Steel Skull. And then very last, we have Rosin Scarhide, 2 speed sets, a perception set. 213 speed is what I have him at. Now, definitely that's going to work for him. He's a slow champion with only 91 base speed, so it's kind of hard to get him up to speed, which is good for a team like this because you don't have to get him that fast. But he's got good crit damage, good defense, good accuracy. He's going to work really nicely for us in this comp. Defensive tree, offensive tree, the perfect kind of mix with him with Giant Slayer, obviously. Now, the speed range for this role is going to be 231. These are true speeds, remember. True speeds. This includes that 20% speed aura that we get from Raz, but 231 to 250. That's going to be your range there, 231 speed to 250 speed. Keep them in that. You're going to be in good shape. So it's a wide range for Rosin, the only champion that has a wide range. Everybody else is pretty tight, but that's good because that's really your damage dealer slot. And being able to have some flexibility with that is pretty nice. Okay, so that's the team. That's the build. So if you're looking at how to go about building it, those are the speed ranges that I've found so far. Obviously, a lot of times these are, well, first off, these are pretty small speed ranges for a lot of these champions. And it tends to go with speed tunes that, you know, one champion's speed can affect another one. So if you have Rosin super fast, it might affect some of the higher ends or lower end speed ranges with some of these champions. I would just stay into the middle of these ranges and you should be in really good shape. You know, if there's a point, whatever, you know, try to get above that. And so like I would just like, you know, stay within the middle of these ranges. Don't push the edges too much with these teams. But yeah, I think this is a really good team. And the more I look at Razzie, the more I think this guy's going to be a very good champion for a lot of people. I wish this was a fragment fusion, honestly, because I feel like this is a champion that should be available for more of the player base. I feel like the earlier account you are, the more of an impact it's going to have. And so having it be a traditional fusion, which is generally very hard to do, is going to be is unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I wish I could get them on my free to play. I'll put it that way. But anyway, great champion. Definitely recommend doing them. This is a pretty darn good team. Way better than I thought. I actually can't wait to bring in some really fun champions with it and see how it does. But that's all we got for today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe button. It does a lot for the channel. I really appreciate it. And if you like the music, SoundStripe link is down below. Till next we meet on the Deadwood Jedi.